So today we have 5 verses lined up: 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. I'll start with verse number 11. I will chant. Chintam parimeyam chah pralayantamupashrita kamo bhoga paramamah etave vadeti nishita. So this verse translates to fraught with immeasurable worries, anxieties, ending only with death, with sensual enjoyments as their highest aim, and feeling sure that this is all that matters. That matters is implied here. So I will take this up word by word. Chintam. So chinta we know is worry. So worries or anxieties. Aparimeyam. Parimey is something which you can measure. Aparimeyam becomes immeasurable or immense, multifold. I mean, which you can't measure actually, infinite. Cha and pralayantam. So with end with pralay, or these worries, they end with death. Upashrita is what you take ashraya in or refuge in. Kam, upabhog, so sensual enjoyments. Paramam is their goal, highest aim. Etavat, this is all. Iti thus, nishchita, feeling sure. So the verse translates to fraught with immeasurable worries, anxieties, ending only with death, with sensual enjoyments as their highest aim, and feeling sure that this is all, which is of relevance, is implied. So let's chant it together. Chintam parimeyam chaha pralayantamupashritah kamo bhoga paramaha etavadati nishchitaha. So see, now with no concept of the supreme reality, the demonical person is totally deluded. And in this delusion, what are they doing? They're pursuing the world of objects and beings, trying to find joy and pleasure in this existence. See, all of us are looking for joy and pleasure. So the demonical, with his delusion, is moving into the world of objects and beings. Now, this is an endless pursuit. And we have already read, chapter 2 onwards, we've been reading about the nature of desire, because any pursuit or attachment focuses all our thought process towards that object, which brings about the feeling of desiring that object or being. So this desire is insatiable, and the demonical people pursue the desire for acquisition, aggrandization, not realizing that this is something that will never end. And all this aggrandization leads to worries, stress, and anxiety. These worries end only with their death. And actually, even at death, whatever desires remain unfulfilled technically, they become vasanas and are the cause for our next birth. This is what we have been reading. But okay, in this particular timeline, these worries and anxieties end with their death. Now, the demonical are convinced that life is meant only for worldly indulgences and enjoyments. So, what do? They want to maximize the sensual pleasures. So, the goal is what? Maximizing of sensual pleasures. And these sensual pleasures, the maximizing of sensual pleasures or the joy from sensual pleasures leads to harboring of immeasurable desires. And desires, you may recollect in verse number 37 of chapter 3, the Karma Yoga was referred to by Lord Krishna as Mahashan, that is all consuming, and mahapapam, or all sinful. So, desire is like a fire which cannot be quenched. The more you feed, just as the more you feed the fire with fuel, similarly, the more you feed the desire, the more it'll grow. So, if we look around us, we will find such persons to be living luxuriously, but we do not understand how insecure they are actually. So, I mean, you will find that people are coming to your home and there'll be a whole lot of bodyguards standing outside your gate. And you wonder at least I always wonder what has that person done to deserve so much of security. So, such people, and these are our top politicians, bureaucrats, etc., judges now, they have this level of security. So they're fraught with insecurity. So we have to actually be in that person's shoes to understand this kind of behavior. And here I would like to revise the ladder fall that we had done in chapter 2. These were verses 62 and 63. That attachment leads to desires. Now, if the desires are met, so I want, let's say, a lakh of rupees every month as my salary. So I get a job which gives me that. So if it is met, am I satisfied? No. After 2 months, I would want 1.5, right? So I keep desiring more and more. If the desire is not met, so that means I do not get a job which gives me 1 lakh per month in my bank account, I start getting angry. It leads to a lot of stress and mental agitation, which leads to clouding of my memory or delusion, loss of intellect, and I may land up doing things which I don't want to do, which my conscience is telling me or had told me not to do, which leads to our destruction. So, the symptoms of desires typically are agitation and stress, and this reflects as sleeplessness in the night. So, the desire leads us to acquisition, which is never satiated. So the rich want to get richer, the powerful more powerful, the beautiful more beautiful, and so on and so forth. And we seek enjoyment from these desires, right? Now the enjoyments follow the law of diminishing return and is fleeting, is transient. So I will take this up later in the next verse, where I'll explain that in more detail, how it follows the enjoyment, the pleasure that we derive from an object or a person follows the law of diminishing returns and is fleeting. Now the person, the person exhibiting demonical nature does not understand the insatiable nature of sensual desires, therefore unintelligently harbors them and continues to indulge in them. This indulgence follows the law of diminishing returns, so the joy steadily declines and becomes zero and even turns negative. So indulgence becomes more harmful. And okay, let me bring this out with an example. So see, when we understand this very clearly in case of an addiction actually. So you start smoking, okay? So first, one cigarette is enough for you to keep you happy. Maybe once in a week you try it out more for swag and things of that kind. As it grows on you, then you may be needing one cigarette a day, so that one cigarette a week has become now one cigarette per day. Gradually, that is also not giving you that kind of pleasure. Okay, so you resort to maybe two, and gradually this goes on increasing till the time you smoke off 5 packets in a day. And still, you are not actually deriving the pleasure that you derived from that one cigarette which you started with, one cigarette per week that you were having. That joy was much more than what the 10 packets or whatever you're smoking today. It's like that mango example also I give, that the first mango of the summer season is always very delicious. And after that, whatever mangoes we have, actually they follow the law of diminishing returns. The joy that we derive from the next mango is much lesser than the first one that we ate for that season. So this is also there in case of the desires that we harbor, in case of any sensual desires that we harbor. Now, so what happens? The joy is gradually coming down to zero. So you smoke 10 packets in a day and you feel okay, that's something. It's just routine, you see. And then, so in this state, you're not able to give it up, but it's not giving you joy. So you're bound by that desire. And after some time, it starts turning negative. All that you have been consuming is actually harming your body. So the indulgence has now turned negative. The joy that you're deriving from that indulgence has become negative, it's become harmful. So the person is now bound by the desire and starts craving for the sense gratification. So he or she cannot do without that 10 mangoes in a day, or 10 packets of cigarettes in a day, or 10 saris in a day that you have to buy, right? So any addiction actually is an example of this. Same thing applies to wine, power, money, wealth. It's all the same. And they feel that this is it, this is what life is. So their faculties now are just entangled in pursuing that sensual pleasure. So they don't even consider that maybe there's a direction which is eh, opposing where I'm going. So they think that life is meant for pleasure and there is nothing more to it. So thought of God does not arise. And therefore, spirituality for them, this kind of a mental framework is like casting pearls before swine, where you're offering something valuable or something good to someone. And they, I mean, does the swine appreciate that you've thrown pearls in front of them? No, there's no value for that. So with that, let's move on to verse number 12. आशापाशशतेर्बद्धाः कामक्रोधपरायणा इहन्ते काम भोगार्थम। ये अभी रिसेंटली भेजे हैं, ये और आए हैं। I'll just mute this, whoever is unmuted. Please give me a minute.
go through करके मुझे बता दें जिस बात करना हो तो बात करो।
चलो ठीक है।
Monica, can you please mute yourself?
एक तो ये संहिता में मैंने देखा
Okay. Okay, I'll just repeat this bit. आशापाशशतेर्बद्धाः कामक्रोधपरायणाः इहन्ते कामभोगार्थम् अन्यायेनार्थसञ्चयानः. So the verse translates to bound by hundreds ties of hope, giving in to lust and wrath, they strive for hoards of wealth, unlawfully for sensual enjoyment. A very strong verse. Let's take this up word by word. Asha pash shatah. So Asha is hope. Pash is a tie or a rope or a bond. Shatah is hundreds. I mean, so please focus on the plural use of, it's not shatah, it's shatah. So Asha Pash Shate becomes by hundreds of bounds or ties of hope. Badha is bound. Kam Krodh Parayana. Kam is lust. Krodh is wrath. And Parayana is the supreme goal. So Kam Krodh Parayana becomes lust and wrath as supreme end. Ihante, they strive. Kama bhogartham, for sensual enjoyments. So kam is lust and bhog is to enjoy. Artham is to as the goal. So anayayen. So Nyaya is what is legal, what is lawful, what the dharma or the rules of the society permit. Anyayen becomes unjustly or which are against those laws. Arth Sanchayan becomes earth is wealth, Sanchayan is hoarding, amassing, accumulating. So Arth Sanchayan becomes amassing wealth. So the whole verse reads, bound by hundreds ties of hope, giving in to lust and wrath, they strive for hoards of wealth unlawfully for sensual enjoyment. So let's chant it together. आशापाशशतैर्बद्धाः कामक्रोधपरायणा इहन्ति कामभोगार्थम् अन्यायेनार्थसञ्चयान्. So this verse, I think, clearly illustrates the state of a demonic person. The demonic person devoted to desire and seeking that, I mean, that is the only goal that that person has, pursues sensual fulfillments single-mindedly. So just like we have been reading in the Bhagwad Gita, that we should be pursuing that Brahman single-mindedly without the thought of any other thought. So in this particular case, what is happening is that the demonical person is pursuing the world single-mindedly. Now the problem is that in the world all desires cannot be fulfilled. It's a competitive world. So suppose I want to top in a particular competition, it's very much possible that if I'm not of that caliber, someone else does it. So now, as we just recap the ladder of fall, what happens when the desire is not met? The person becomes restless and impatient with things that are happening around him or her, and starts losing his sense of judgment, his balance of mind. And not only the world, he's also irritated and constantly unhappy with himself. So now the person is, because the desire has not been met, the person is unhappy with himself and the environment. And the person's lust has gradually starts transforming into wild, passionate anger. This is what the ladder of fall also says, which leads to the person's destruction. This is what this particular verse is actually illustrating: a person who's entangled by hundreds of desires, and the person's mental and intellectual energies are actually getting pulled or dissipated in these desires, and the person is constantly striving for his quota or her quota of sensual enjoyments, which is an endless pursuit. So they work. Interestingly, they're not tamasic. This is typically rajasic, actually. So they madly work towards acquiring and possessing, acquiring and possessing. And in their desperate anxiety to indulge and to enjoy, they lose sight of divinity, and they do not even listen to their own conscience. So whenever the desire is not met, and I mean, so okay, you want to become more and more powerful, or you want to become more and more wealthy, you resort to all kinds of means to become powerful or wealthy, whatever is that is giving you kick. But here we are talking about actually wealth. So leading to wealth, that's what the verse is saying, acquired and hoarded by unlawful, unjust means, right? The word being used is anyaya, unlawful, what is not allowed. So these demonical people are also striving day and night to satisfy their inexhaustible passion. And see, this great text of ours was written about 5,000 years ago, conservatively. It is, it applies so accurately even today. It is describing the diabolically or demonic people so well that you could be reading today's newspaper. So it is an honest commentary of our own age. The scripture is timeless. What we are reading, we are fortunate to read. So this verse, I thought I would highlight in response to what has been happening over the last week, at least in the Indian uh, uh, judicial system, if I may say so. Let's move on to verse number 13. Edmadya maya labadam imam prapasya manoratham idam astidam pi me bhavishyati punardhanam. So the next set of three verses are actually talking about how the demonical person is, you know, uh, uh, the thought process behaves and his intellect functions. So this verse translates to, this today I have gained. This object of desire I shall gain. This is mine, and this wealth shall also be mine in future. So let's take this up word by word. Idam is, of course, this. So we will. So idam is this. Adya is today. Maya by me. Labadham. Labad is what you gain. So labadham becomes have gained. Imam this. Prapayase shall obtain. Manoratham is an object of desire. Idam is this. Asti is. Idam is this. Api also. May mine. Bhavishyati in future, or shall be, right? Punha again, dhanam is wealth. So this today have gained, this object of desire I shall gain, this is mine, and this wealth shall also be mine in future. So this is what the verse says. Let's chant it together. Edmadya maya labhadam imam prapasya manoratham idamastidampi me bhavishyati punardhanam. So this verse is actually covering the behavior of such a demonical person at the material level, and I don't think much is explanation is required here. This is talking about how the person behaves towards what is materially available to that person. So he or she is always thinking, this I've got, this is what I plan for tomorrow, and this much I have accumulated, this one more needs to be accumulated. So the wealth, and this is simply because wealth and material gains are the person's goal, and the thoughts naturally therefore lead to acquiring, accumulating, hoarding, and preserving wealth. The capitalistic system, the constant thoughts of are of what material wealth is gained, what is to be gained, what remains, okay, what I have collected till now, and what more do I need to acquire. Okay, this is the demonic passion. It is never satiated nor satisfied, because when tomorrow comes, the again the thought process remains the same, that I've gained so much, now this is what needs to be done. So always looking for more and more wealth, more land, more businesses, more power, more fame, etc. So let's move on to verse number 14. Aso maya hatah shatruh hanishe chaparanapi ईश्वरोऽहं भोगी सिद्धोऽहं बलवान सुखी. So the verse translates to, that enemy has been slain by me, and others too I shall slay. I am the Lord, I am the enjoyer, I am perfect, powerful, happy. So let's take this up word by word. Asaw. This, or right? Maya by me, hata slain, shatru enemy, hanishya means I will slay, cha and aparan others, Api also Ishwar, Lord. Aham, I. Aham, I. Bhogo is the enjoyer. Siddh is perfect being. Aham, I. Balwan, powerful. Sukhi is happy. So the verse translates to that enemy has been slain by me, or this enemy has been slain by me, and others too I shall slay. I am the Lord. I am the enjoyer. I am perfect, powerful, happy. So let's chant it together. असौ मया हता शत्रुः हनिष्ये चापरानपि ईश्वरोऽहं भोगी सिद्धोऽहं बलवान् सुखी. So this is the mental state of such a person, of the person who's under functioning under pure demonical nature, the egocentric and destructive nature of such a person. The term that is being used, kill. Okay, so it's a strong term. So the verse is implying is that the world appears to be an enemy to a person, such a person. Now, enemy in our context, we can also take it, interpret it to mean a competitor, a challenger. So if you're a sports person, the competitor is a enemy, so I will kill him. Or a business house, so I'm running a particular kind of business, and I say, okay, I have 25% of the market share, 75 is split between these 10 firms, and I have to increase my market share, so I will first of all target this business and acquire that market share. So this is killing that business, right? So the person is focused on quelling competition or persons who are not with that person. So the demonical person develops ill will, anger, and hatred towards such people who are competitors, and is always scheming to remove all opposition, to be the most powerful. And hence they assume the lordship of whatever they. So this is the I am the one principle, right? So when your market share has gone from that 25% to gradually to 30 and so on and so forth, till you are at 98%, even then you're not satisfied, because someone poor fellow has that 2% market share. So once you have removed him and you have the entire 100%, now you feel that I am the Lord and I'm the person who's enjoying this, all this wealth. The what is agonizing me at that point of time is that I hope no one else comes into this line of business, right? But steeped in worship, they believe that they alone are the enjoyers. They are perfect, powerful, and happy. So this is how a lot of us live even today. I mean, so again, uh, the scripture which was relevant so many years, centuries ago actually, is so uh, applicable today. All businessmen in the world, unknown to themselves, actually we are not aware, actually the businessman would not be aware that this is the verse that the businessman is executing. They can constantly chant this verse in their heart of hearts. I've destroyed one business house, I'll destroy the next one, and so on and so forth. Now I'll monopolize, I'm the Lord. And not only business houses, it is in all professions, be it medicine or lawyers or even scientists. The, everyone, I mean, so I want to be the best. And I want to be the only one who should enjoy. I should be the only one who is the most successful. And I am the strong influence amongst, whatever that matters, political leaders, business connections, in my bank account. And then I think that I'm strong and healthy. So this is the true ego functioning at the heart of a materialist. And under this spell of materialism, the instincts of divinity are completely obscured. Which brings us to the last verse for the day. So I will chant. Arhayo bhejanavansam konyosti sadrishyo maya yakshe dasyami modishya etyajnana vimohita. So the verse translates to I am rich, well born. Who else is equal to me? I will sacrifice, I will give, I will rejoice. Thus they are deluded by ignorance. So let's take this word by word. Arhayam. Yah is rich. Abhi Janvan is well born. Asmi I, ka who, anya other, asti is, sadrishya is equal. Maya to me, yakshe will sacrifice, I is implied. Dasyami will give. Mudishya will rejoice. Iti is thus. Agyana vimohita. So agyan is without knowledge or ignorant. Vimohita is one who is deluded. So agyan vimohita becomes deluded by ignorance. So the verse translates to I am rich, well born. Who else is equal to me? I will sacrifice, I will give, I will rejoice. Thus they are deluded by ignorance. So let's chant it together. Arhayo vibhajan vansmi konyosti sadrishyo maya yakshe dasyami modishya etyajnana vimohita. So this is the intellect of such a person. And here we are talking about the mindset of people who derive pride from wealth which has come to them by birth. So, when he says that I am rich, well born. So they derive pride from their ancestry and lineage, or they are born with a golden spoon in their mouth. And that's what we call, that's the term that is used. So for some of us, some of such people, this pride comes from the fact that their ancestors were kings or landowners, and for some, this pride comes from the fact that all the people in my family have been lawyers or doctors. So whichever way you look at it, this is how we carry that baggage of our ancestry, and they boast about the same. And not only that, they also boast about the number of sacrifices that they have conducted, the amount of charity that they have donated, and they say that there is no one like them who is equal to them. So when you're someone is boasting that I donated so much, so much of amount, and we saw this happening during the Mahakumbh, if you may recollect, all the visuals that appeared before us. That's this business person goes and does this, and next one goes and does this. What kind of charity is this? So the demonic view of well-born also centers around wealth, power, fame, recognition. So they are steeped in material prosperity and social status, and cultural and spiritual well-being actually is of no relevance to them. So the last three verses, 13, 14, and 15, can be summarized in this like that no one is equal to me. I'm superior to everyone else. This leads to strengthening of the ego or the aham, and the attachment now to whatever is making me the supreme. I'm superior to others. So that attachment keeps growing by leaps and bounds. And there is no scope for renunciation. And each step that is taken towards the ego or into the world is a step that is taken away from the self realization or towards our inner core. And the root cause of all this is ignorance of our true nature, because once we realize that we ourselves are self sufficient, we don't need so much of material wealth, we will stop seeking it. And you may recollect in the previous chapter, the Purushottam Yoga, verse number 3, Krishna had advised us to raise this attachment, this involvement with the world, with the strong acts of non attachment, and then seek the supreme goal. But for the demonical, the only existence is at the superficial level and the material level. And they actually try to project an aura of civility and culture, but you just scratch the surface, say something nasty to them or something which is unpleasant to them, and the gross nature of such people emerges. They are completely deluded. So, with that, let us end our today's